It's saying going live. Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the seventh session of the Bhagavad Gita class. Very good to see familiar, sincere faces in the morning on Sunday. Thank you. Okay, so we'll start with Kirtan. Kirtan is a very, very important part to prepare our consciousness to get the mercy of the Lord, to get mercy of our acharyas, because only through the mercy of the Lord, which flows via our acharyas, can we understand this transcendental science. So let's absorb ourselves in Radha Madhav in the auspicious month of Kartik. Not in Vrindavan, but in Espana. But wherever the devotees of the Lord come together, we can create a Vrindavan kind of an atmosphere. So let's let our minds and our hearts be in Vrindavan, and we can all sing Radha Madhav together. I'll sing, and then you all can repeat after me. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Gitar Gibardhari Gibardhari Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braj Jana Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Sham Sundar Radha Sham Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodare Radha Damodare Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, कार्तिक महोत्सव की जय. Hare Krishna. So, welcome all of you to the Bhagavad Gita 7th session. We'll start with the auspicious prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Ajnanatimirandasya
Om Ajnanatimirandasya
Jnananjana Shalakaya
Jnananjana Shalakaya
Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Namo Vishnupadaya
Namo Vishnupadaya
Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale
Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta
Swami Niti Namine
Swami Niti Namine.
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Gauravani Pracharine
Gauravani Pracharine
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Paschat Deshatarine
Paschat Deshatarine.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhar
Shri Advaita Gadadhar
Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Mukam karoti vachalam pankham langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwara Hare Sat. Okay, welcome everyone on a Sunday morning when many people had different things to do, including getting over hangovers from previous nice parties. I don't know how fortunate all of us are to get this satsang. I'm very fortunate to have a group like this who I can discuss Bhagavad Gita with. So thank you all and welcome to the seventh session. We dedicate this presentation to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It is Prabhupada's mercy that he made Bhagavad Gita so accessible both in terms of language, because he gave his commentaries in English in a very easy to understand way, as well as he made the entire essence of Bhagavad Gita very, very clear. If you read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, it's the Kartik month. I would definitely urge all of you to make a beginning and start reading. Pick up any verse, and if you read the purports, he'll give the entire gist of Bhagavad Gita over there in some way or the other. So he knows, like, as Kali Yuga Jivas, we'll have very little time. We may not have the time to go through the purports of all the 700 verses. So in each and every purport, it's like, he's taken the entire nectar and the essence of Bhagavad Gita and given it there. Okay, so today's session is very important. It's called Who is Pulling My Strings? So last time's session was also very important because it was on the mind. And today's session is even more important. So the session of the mind, it was all about how do we deal with our own self. Because the mind is more about myself. And in today's session, we'll see that, last time we were talking about all the problems that our mind gives us. But would you all agree a lot of our problems are actually given by others around us? That's what we think, right? So today's session is around that. It will help us understand how do we deal with others, or how do we understand others in the context of Bhagavad Gita, right? So that's what this session is about. So today we will cover concepts of Bhagavad Gita from chapter 14, chapter 17, and also some parts of chapter 18. So let's get started. Have you ever wondered? So, this is again, as I said, regarding other people. Today's session would be a lot about that. Have you ever wondered how soon people change? Yeah. Sometimes the best of friends, people who we are very close to, we were depending on, suddenly one day they will change. And we are left wondering how? This is supposed to be my friend. How is like this person now behaving like my enemy? Right? A very good person otherwise suddenly starts becoming bad, and vice versa कम होता है good to bad ज़्यादा हमको पता चलता है. And then so sometimes very close friends becomes enemies. Sometimes people who we thought are not good start to look good. uh, what is this reason for this oscillation, right? So this slide is more for ourselves. Sometimes we're in good mood, sometimes we're in bad mood, sometimes do you agree, or maybe spouses can definitely agree on that? Yeah. And sometimes we see how from day to day our productivity also, and Krishna, changes a lot, right? Our productivity changes. There are days when we wake up with a lot of energy and we are able to do everything, all housework, office work, everything efficient, and we're still having so much energy. And there are other days when productivity is very low. We hardly accomplish anything, but it's the same person, it's the same us, right? So we are the same person, but on day to day basis. There is a difference that we see in ourselves. But when it comes to our basic qualification, whether it is our intelligence, knowledge, talents, physical strength, we are the same, right? From one day to the other, like maybe over a long period of time we become more intelligent as we read scriptures. I'm not talking of that, but from between today morning, today evening, tomorrow evening, we are the same, but there is so much of a difference. Have you noticed this in yourselves? So, what is actually causing this? It almost feels as if, somebody is controlling us, that we are not in full control of ourselves. Otherwise, this won't happen, right? If you're in full control of ourselves, we should wake up every morning and say, today I will be my best. But nahi hota hai, right? Some days we are our best, some days we aren't. So yeah, some days I can do wonders, and other days I feel like an utter failure. So who is in control? Who is actually controlling me? Am I the only doer? Am I the only doer? If I was, then I should be the same all the time, right? Uh, but looks like there is more. So let's unveil that mask today. So this is a very important shloka. So I'll chant and you can repeat after me. अधिष्ठानं तथा कर्ता
अधिष्ठानं तथा कर्ता
करणं च पृथग्विधम्
कर्णं च पृथग्विधम्
विविधाश्च पृथक् श्रेष्ठा
विविधाश्च पृथक् श्रेष्ठा
दैवं चैवत्र पञ्चमम्.
दैवं चैवत्र पञ्चमम्.
Can somebody read the translation?
The place of action, the body, the performance, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul.
Was gone. Connection.
I don't think so.
TV comment.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Looks like that. Maybe the TV is gone on standby. Is it still connected? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So while we set it back, we could continue. Okay, this is almost. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yes, Mataji, you can continue reading.
The many different kinds of endeavor and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. Bhagavad Gita 18.14.
So this is a shloka from the 18th chapter. It's a very important shloka. So it talks about the 5 factors that are involved in any activity that we do. So the result of any activity that we do is dependent on these 5 factors. First one, adhishthanam. So this is the place of action, which is this entire body. It's the place of action. Second, karta means doer. That is, who's the doer? We. Who are we? The spirit soul. The spirit soul. So then a second is karta, spirit soul. Karanam cha prithak vidham. So this means different types of senses that we have on the gross and subtle platform. Vividhas cha prithak cheshta. So these are the different types of endeavors that we do. And fifth one, Daivam. Who's Daivam? Super soul. Right? So these are the 5 factors which are involved. So I am not the only doer. All of these 5 factors together are actually the doer. So we've made a very simple illustration on that. So soul, we are the soul, we are the spirit soul. As the spirit soul, we can only desire. Is it clear to all of you? Are you able to see it? In the heart region, he looks at our karma credits that we have. And if we have the karma credits to get that desire, he will sanction it. So he is the one who sanctions it. And this is basis our karma credits. Third is Prakriti, who's actually executing the desire or manifesting the desire. So, clear? So the Supreme Lord and his energies are involved in every action. Supreme Lord and both Prakriti as well as Jivatma, we are the energy, so we are involved in every action. So let's think of it with an example. You go for shopping, yeah. You like a shirt, you want to purchase it, but what will determine if you can actually purchase it or not?
Cost, price,
Price, yes. Choice, you've made the choice. You've made the choice. But whether you can actually get it or not, what will determine?
size depends on.
साइज इज देयर, सब कुछ है, आपको मिल गया है, जो आपका साइज, कलर, चॉइस सब मिल गया है.
Just the price, I think. Your own financial
उसकी जरूरत
Yeah.
है कि नहीं है?
buy it.
Yeah, you open your wallet, no, or take out your phone for a UPI payment.
So ultimately it comes to the, how much I can afford and how much
So it comes to, like, जो भी price है उसका, do you have that much of balance? Do you have that much of credit? So it's not very different when it comes to our day-to-day actions. Whenever we desire something, it depends on हमारे बैग में कितना पुण्य है, कितना पाप है. उसके basis पे the Lord sanctions. So if you do not have enough credits for something, so for example, there may be a pauper sees a Porsche go by, may desire मुझे भी चाहिए, मिलेगा क्या उसे अभी? नहीं मिल सकता है, right? Because doesn't have the punya from this and the past lives to be able to afford that car. So that is how it works, right? Yeah. Okay. So in fact, Krishna says, yes.
तो माता जी कैसे पता चलेगा कि हमारे पास कितने पुण्य हैं, कितने
नहीं,
नहीं? उसी
वो
हिसाब से डिजायर करें.
actually desire तो हमें सिर्फ if we understand our constitutional position as the spirit soul, and we understand the aim of life, which is and as a spirit soul we are part and parcel of the Lord. So if you're part of a whole, then the job of the part is to serve the whole. So if we understand this truth about ourselves and our relationship with the Supreme Lord, then our desires will only be all spiritual desires, just a function of that. So all this papa and punya goes away. So the actual aim of life is to get to that stage. No, but we are doing this so that at least till the time we reach that level, we are able to understand through the context of Bhagavad Gita what is happening to us through our minds, through the people around us, why people around us are behaving in a certain way. But kitna hai wo to pata nahi. Because it's not just if it was only this lifetime, तब हो सकता है we should be able to say कि अच्छा मुझे पता है कि पाप का और पुण्य का घड़ा कितना भरा हुआ है. But this is not just this lifetime. There's millions of lifetimes. We don't know how much papa we have in the bag and how much punya we have in the bag. So there's no.
माता जी जैसे डिजायर तो मटेरियलिस्टिक होगी हमारे जैसे लोगों की.
हाँ,
We have
हाँ.
not reached this spiritual.
Yeah.
So materialistic desire के लिए इस Bhagavad Gita has some paths, some ways, some things by which they can tell us that how you have to achieve those desires through spiritual path or something else. Do we have certain do's, don'ts? Which are
So
there?
if you look at the Vedas, there's a section of the Vedas called Karma Kanda, which is for people. So if you see, उसमें बहुत सारा दिया हुआ है कि ये कर लेंगे तो ये हो जाएगा. There are a lot of rituals. So we need to understand that actually by doing those rituals, it's not like you are nullifying your papa. For any papa you've done, you have to suffer. By doing those rituals, you are probably just delaying it by a few years to another lifetime at max. But you are the spirit soul. If not in this lifetime, you will have to suffer in some other lifetime, or you will have to enjoy whatever good you've done in the past lives and in the past. So instead of going through this, somebody is really intelligent, they would think, how do I put a stop to it and how do I move towards eternal happiness? Because otherwise, this up, down will keep continuing.
But God has given us human body, that is our punyas and His grace only.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are
So,
not anyone's, we are.
the platform for us.
so just the fact that we've got human bodies means that we have done a lot of good karma. That's why we have evolved through the lower species and got to a human body. It is a very, very precious opportunity to get the human body. Second, even more rare than a human body is to get access to spiritual knowledge. You know what is even more rare than that? To get satsang. So all of you should feel so grateful that you are amongst those people who've not just got a human body and heard and read Bhagavad Gita, you've also gotten access to satsang happening in your community every Sunday. So we should feel very grateful and thank the Lord and see how we can make the best use of this very, very, very rare opportunity. It's a very rare opportunity. Only when this gets taken away that we'll realize how rare this opportunity is. And I hope that never happens and this group always stays under the shelter of the Lord and in satsang. Right. So Krishna actually says in the Bhagavad Gita, Maya dhakshena prakriti suyati sacharacharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagad vipari vartate. Yeah. Maya dhakshena is under my order. So Prakriti actually is executing under the order of Krishna. So in the last slide, actually, we had 5 factors. Now we are talking of 3. Anybody notice that?
Performer is, you said that is the spirit soul who is should
So there are 5 factors. Out of that, so there was, which were the 5 factors? There was entire body. There is a doer, spirit soul. There is Devam, super soul. There is senses and endeavor. So in the next slide, we've actually condensed these 5 into 3 for simplification. So super soul is there, Paramatma is there, Jivatma, soul is there. The other 3, which is this body, endeavors, and the senses, these are all the material energy of the Lord. So all of this has been combined into material nature. And therefore, on the slide, you see that there are these 3 entities for simplification. So it's the same representation of the previous slide. So I have a question for all of you. So in the karma session, we talked of Papa and Punya. Yeah. How do I understand that in this slide? We just talked about it.
Karma credits.
You reduce if your desires are fulfilled. That's what I'm understanding. So you don't have useless desires.
The way I see it is our karmas should feed into us reaching the Paramatma. Actually, that is what our goal should be, and our karmas should be such that they feed into that pathway.
Yeah, it's a nice one. I would just replace karma with desire, because as super soul, as spirit soul, we can only desire. So nice, realization. So at a very basic level, if the desires are in, so we learned if the desire is in line with scriptures, it leads to punya. Desires are against the scriptures, it leads to papa. Papa and punya actually leads to this karma credits, which determine when we desire something, whether that'll happen or not. So there's no need to get very frustrated if something is not happening, or if something is happening, there's no need to get very happy. So like past ka hai. Right? But it's a nice realization that Mataji had, was like, how do I utilize this desire to actually get closer to the Lord? Can I use this cycle to get closer to the Lord? So nice realization. Okay, so now let us understand how Prakriti works. So you will see, literally, we are puppets, and that is why we've named this session "Who is Pulling My Strings?" So we'll see the 3 modes of material nature. You would have heard about it: Rajogun, Sadagun, and Tamogun. Yeah. So these are the 3 gunas. So we'll learn more about that: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So let's understand about goodness. Please repeat after me. Mukta sango naham vadi. Dritiyutsaha samanvitam. Siddhya siddhyor nirvikarah. कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते.
कर्ता सात्विक uchyate.
Somebody read it.
One who performs his duty without association with the wants of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness.
Yeah. Bhagavad Gita 18.26. So here the different qualities of a worker in the mode of goodness is given. Right? What is the first one? The person performs duty without association with modes of material nature. Right? So a person in the mode of goodness, if you ask them to do some work, the first thing they would want to know, how do I do this work? How do I do this well? Right? Second, they do it without false ego. Understands what is doing it without false ego? Somebody who understands that cycle that we talked about. That this is, I am not the only doer. I'm not the only doer here. Yeah. Third, with great determination and enthusiasm, right? Wants to know how to do this work. And fourth is equipoised in both success and failure. As we go through this analysis, you should, because we'll go through all the three modes, you should also analyze for yourself. I'm going to ask you at the end of the discussion which mode you belong to. As we're going through these qualities, you should introspect for yourselves that which mode are you in. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll go to the next one. Yattadagre visham viva
Yatadagre visham viva.
pariname mritoparmam
Pariname mritopamam.
tatsukham satvikam proktam
Tatsukham satvikam proktam.
atma buddhi prasadajam.
Atma buddhi prasadajam.
That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like the nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. Bhagavad Gita 18.37.
Yeah, so more qualities are given. So, have you seen something which is just like poison at the beginning, but is nectar at the end? For example,
Sense pleasure.
no, it's the other way around. So this is still goodness. So these are all activities in the mode of goodness.
All these spiritual activities.
Yeah. So spiritual activities, let's say Mangal Aarti. We didn't have any takers for Mangal Aarti. तो सुबह कौन उठेगा? है ना? So बहुत लोग बोलते हैं कि सुबह ये तो रात है. 3:30 तो रात होती है. इतनी सुबह कौन उठता है? इतनी रात को कैसे उठे? Right? But as you do that, it seems very difficult. It seems like poison. How can anybody do it? But if you start waking up in Brahma Muhurt, then need not be 3:30. You can wake up at 4:30. Maybe wake up at 5. Morning is not 9. Morning is 4 a.m., 5 a.m. If you get up at this time and actually meditate and do your mantra meditation, you will see the nectar that it will lead to at the end of that sustained spiritual practice or anything. This is more on the spiritual platform. Let's take material examples. Studies. So all of you here, you've reached this stage in life and you're much better off than a lot of the world around you, because as children, I'm sure all of you put in a lot of effort. So you wanted to achieve something in life. So if you go back to your old days, I'm sure each and every one of you has put in a lot to see this day. Right? उस समय कैसा लगता था? You it was poison, right? Maybe friends were playing, colony kids were playing, but you were like, नहीं मैं
I am done with
She's a doctor. So, right, Mataji. So all of that seems like poison, right? As kids, we were thinking, we were studying, बाकी, मोहल्ले के बच्चे खेल रहे हैं. But today, maybe they are not where all of you are. So you're tasting the nectar now. But initially, it was poison. New Year, very common phenomena. We are getting closer to the New Year, which is the most famous, notorious New Year resolution.
Losing weight.
Losing weight. All gyms, going to the gym. right? It, it's so tough, right? It is very
Yeah,
tough.
yeah.
It is very tough to hit the gym. But if you look at New Year, all gyms utilize this time, है ना? So
Oh, right.
they will utilize this time to this shloka, right? Yeah. So many offers would be there, and you will see 1st of January, if you hit the gym, you will see there's no place to stand. But if you go now during Diwali time, तो वो जाले like साफ करने पड़ेंगे. So that's what happens. But it seems so difficult. But if somebody is actually able to sustain through, or like maybe food, you go to a nutritionist, they'll suggest something which you won't like. It won't have like fried food, sweets. It seem like poison, but if you actually follow that diet, your health will be much better off in the longer term. So all of these things, these are in the mode of goodness. So anything, whether it is with activities, foods, lifestyle, whatever is in the mode of goodness will seem like poison initially, but will be nectar at the end. Now let's go to the mode of passion. Ragi karma phala prepsur. Lukto himsatmako shuchihi. Harsha shokanvita karta. Rajasa parikirtitaha. Somebody read this.
The worker who's attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mode of passion. Bhagavad Gita 18.2.
Yeah, so now this talks about workers in the mode of passion. So you remember worker in the mode of goodness. When you give them some work, what will that person ask? How can I do this? Well, worker in the mode of passion, first thing they'll want to know.
What is the Rajoguna.
So this is exactly like corporate life personified. Passion, it's all about targets. Let's overachieve. Let's do better than the others. Let's not just overachieve. Let's do better than the others, right?
Bonus.
हाँ bonus चाहिए. Bonus is linked to bell curve, no? So you have to do better than the others. So everything in corporate life is actually, see, is a personification of Rajogun. So desiring to enjoy the
But that
fruits.
is not bad.
We'll come to it. We'll see towards the end. I'm not going to answer this because we'll have a discussion on which mode is good. अभी बोल दिया तो अभी आंसर आपको मिल जाएगा वो क्वेश्चन है.
All unnecessary, basically.
Mataji, this goes further to your recent LinkedIn post where you are talking about Google Pay and how the product has advanced.
Huh.
So that is also kind of linked to this because you feel proud about what you've done at Google Pay and how your product is evolving compared to competition. It's really an extension to
प्रभु जी सेशन के बाद बात करती हूँ. नौकरी का सवाल होगा. But when I answered that, on a serious note, when I answer that, when we get to this discussion, I'll talk about this also. Like, how do you think about, because all of us are some way linked to corporate lives,
Correct.
and we should continue doing that. That's our karma. It's part of our life. It's our job.
To answer the competitor.
नहीं आप
हाँ, पर उनके फ्रेंड्स अभी भी होंगे. Okay, so it's always about how do I do better than the others, right? So there comes the concept of I want more and more. Now I want to ask a question. Tell me, what is the difference between jealousy and envy?
Jealousy में we feel it, but we don't do any harm to anyone. Envy में हम action ले लेते हैं उसका कुछ नुकसान.
It's close. It's close. So jealousy is I don't have it, that person has it, I also want it. Envy is I don't have it, that person doesn't have it. Sorry, I don't have it, that person has
You
it.
should also not have
He should also not have it. So then you do the action yourself, or like
Pull him down
you try to pull the other
Desire
person.
है कि उसके पास ना हो पर मेरे पास हुआ ना हो.
Abhi, so either you that's see desires also manifest into action. So you can actually pull him down, or through some means that person may get pulled down, and you'll be happy. But that defines envy. So envy is very bad. Actually, it's called crab mentality. Crabs are always like they're trying to pull each other down, right? So that's the crab mentality. But that is what is there in today's day and age: greed and envy, which characterizes this mode, right? Then third, impure. Impure means ashuchi, not very interested in maintaining purity inside or outside both.
Hygiene.
Hygiene bhi ho sakta hai, that's outside purity.
Mental
Even
hygiene.
inside mental purity as well, your consciousness. And then fourth, we talked about goodness. Somebody who's in the mode of goodness, not affected by failure or success, right? But the passionate ones, they are like pendulum. You know, pendulum, extremely happy with success, extremely like they get depressed. That's why you see like a lot of people, a lot of depression comes also is affecting very highly successful people,
Suicide.
right? Because they just get into depression very soon. Choda sa kuch hua, they're like, oh, I failed this time. But you've not failed. You need to understand the whole cycle we talked about, right? So also a person in the mode of passion, typically we see that they would be very lusty, interested in sensual pleasures, activities. Yeah? So activities, we said in the mode of goodness are like nectar, poison in the beginning and nectar at the end. So what do you think would be activities in mode of passion?
I think one needs to have discipline,
Hmm.
and there is a word called tap.
Hmm.
So we always say कि तप के बिना आपको सफलता नहीं मिल सकती है. So without discipline and rigor, one cannot have success. So it is those activities which are done so that you achieve with discipline and rigor.
So one thing which I want to clarify, because Mataji talked about discipline and rigor, the Bhagavad Gita is not telling us to be detached from our work. Bhagavad Gita is not telling us that. Bhagavad Gita is telling us to be detached from the results of the work, from the fruits of the work.
Attached
So
to
people in the mode of passion, they're not attached to the work. They're actually attached to the fruits. That's why their first question is, what's in it for me? It's not about if I do this work, this is good because it's my duty to do it. So
Corporate takes a lot of advantage of these people who are in mode of passion because they are attracted towards the fruits. So they can do anything for that fruit. So they are also the people who are, can do things much better than everyone, but then they are focused on their job or their result. So
yeah, and as part of corporate life, a lot of us who are part of corporate life, that is the setup which is
that
there,
is the setup they want to do. So
right?
that people can
But even in that setup, you can operate differently by continuing to do your work well and be attached to the work and not to the results of the work. Doesn't mean a spiritualist will be lousy when it comes to a corporate career, but may not be a person who anybody would look up to. Ki, this person knows how to get their way along through politics, all of that. I don't know about that. If somebody is a spiritualist, so you have to always kind of draw that boundary and see that how to conduct your lives and how to have a balanced approach to things. But my question was different, like activities in mode of goodness.
Almost all the activities will come in that.
नहीं तो पहले गुडनेस में पहले पॉइजन आता है, एंड में नेक्टर आता है, पैशन में क्या होता है?
उल्टा होता है.
पहले कुछ पहले reverse.
पहले मजा आता है.
Sorrow is depending upon day to day.
पहले मजा आता है, बाद में
तकलीफ होती है.
बाद में तकलीफ होती है, पॉइजन बन जाता है. So let's chant what Bhagavad Gita says. विषयेन्द्रिय संयोगात् यत्तदाग्रे मृतोपमम् परिणामे विषमेवा tat sukham rajasam smritam.
Sanskritam.
Somebody read it.
That happiness which is derived from contact with the senses, with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be the nature of passion. Bhagavad Gita 18.38.
Yeah, yeah. So everything is instant. For people in the mode of passion, they want everything instant. Instant happiness,
success.
instant success, instant results, right? They don't want to wait for anything, right? Like, but
And they have a very strong sense of doership. I am doing it.
I'm doing it.
It's
मैं कर
mine.
रहा हूँ. It's mine. It's mine.
My
Possessiveness,
favorite.
possessiveness, sense of doership, instant, right? Anything which is instant can't be good. Like a lot of these instant foods also, like instant noodles, instant poha. So much we see instant food. Actually, it's not wholesome, right? We all know that. As parents, we don't want to give a lot of it to our kids because there it has been proved like bunch of this over time ends up being like carcinogenic. So it you can see that. Now also let's talk of, we had this whole big traffic jam scenario a few weeks back, right? So it took me almost 5 hours to get back home that day. But it was also a day where I had not a lot of my rounds were pending. सो आई वाज फाइन. जैम है तो मतलब मैं तो माला निकाला, कर रही हूँ, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, घर पहुंच के भी माला ही करना था, घर वहाँ ट्रैफिक में बैठ के भी माला कर रहे. But I was seeing there are so many people who were on the road who were getting so anxious, so anxious. They were just getting out of the cars, yelling at people. और कुछ कर नहीं सकते ना. The jam is there. Nobody is like doing anything deliberately. So it was just crazy. People were getting out of the car anxious. So this is what people in the mode of passion do, right? Because they're so used to instant, immediate, that it's very difficult. It's very difficult to wait.
And
Right?
also very result focused.
Very result focus. Result. It's all about the. It's not about the endeavor. It's about the result, right? So passion, nectar at first, instant noodles, मजा आ जाएगा, अभी मिल जाएगा, बहुत अच्छा है खाने में, बट पॉइजन एट द एंड. या एंड गुडनेस इज वाइस वर्सा. सैलड अभी तो अच्छा नहीं लगेगा, बट आफ्टर अ फ्यू डेज यू विल सी द हेल्थ बेनिफिट्स. Yeah. So actually, while I use the example of food, it's actually true that there are food items also which are in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, towards the end if we have more time remaining. Just one second. Yeah. Okay. So we're coming to the mode of ignorance now. Not we, but the shloka. Ayukta prakritashtaptaha shato naishkritiko lasaha vishadi digraha shutricha karta tamasa uchyate.
The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance.
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita 18.2.
Yeah, so people in the mode of ignorance, one very distinct characteristic about them is that they will not at all be interested in spirituality or spiritual life. Their motto is hashtag YOLO. Yeah, you only live once. अरे संडे मॉर्निंग को उठ के भगवत गीता क्या कर रहे हो? अरे अभी उम्र है क्या ये सब करने की? क्या मिलेगा? जस्ट एंजॉय यार, सैटरडे को इतनी अच्छी पार्टी है, दिवाली पार्टी, उसमें आओ देर तक. Let's enjoy there. Enjoy Mari. It's all about enjoying the moment. It is not about what is for eventual benefit. That will never be the case. So in fact, if you'll see and you'll find these people in and around you also who will not be interested. On the contrary, they would try to sway you from your path and try to influence you. Ki this is bogus. ये क्या कर रही हो? ये क्या कर रहे हो? You're wasting your time. तुमने कितना enjoy किया? You missed out the fun. Because they can only see the quote unquote fun, and the fun is very very a certain kind of activities which are not in line with scriptures. So they have very different ways of enjoying themselves. They are also very obstinate, right? The shloka says they are obstinate, so don't mistake it as determination. That is not determination, but obstinate. Expert in cheating others, negative, poisonous, always busy finding fault in others. So these are all characteristics of people in mode of ignorance. They're also very lazy,
Lethargic, I think.
very lethargy. They're covered in darkness. सो रहे हैं तो सो रहे हैं, उठा नहीं सकते हैं. A lot of people right now also in mode of ignorance, they would be sleeping.
मगर ये सारे कैरेक्टरिस्टिक होने चाहिए या इनमें से 3-4 हो तो भी हो
How is it?
Shirley doing a SWOT analysis. ये है कि नहीं है?
आप आज बहुत अच्छे क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहे हैं.
Topic है.
हाँ, आज बहुत अच्छे क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहे हैं जो all are linked to the question that I'm going to ask at the end. If this will get answered. अच्छा, आप तब तक रुकिए जब तक वो आता है. आ जाएगा, अभी थोड़ी देर में आ जाएगा. Yeah, sorry.
मेजर क्राइटेरिया एंड माइनर
The criteria will get answered. It will get answered, Prabhuji. So we saw goodness is poison in start, nectar in end. Passion is nectar in start, poison and end. What do you think is ignorance?
पॉइजन इन द एंड
हाँ, बिगनिंग टू एंड तक पॉइजन ही पॉइजन है. पहले भी पॉइजन है, बाद में भी पॉइजन है. यदाग्रे चानुबंधे च सुखं मोहनमात्मनः निद्रालस्या प्रमादोत्तम तत्तामसम् उदाहृतम्.
And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be the nature of ignorance. Bhagavad Gita 18.3.
Yeah. So we already talked about this. So we'll see how people in different modes also enjoy different kinds of things. कोई Thailand जा रहा है. Some people are already smiling. What will a person in the mode of goodness want to do? Maybe go sit at the beach, just meditate, think about how beautiful nature is. This is like also creation of Krishna. Maybe somebody in mode of goodness would probably like to do that. Somebody in mode of passion, shopping. Oh, ignorance में आ जाएगा मुझे. They'd like to want to know where the red light districts, कौन से street पे जाना है ना? So that is in mode of ignorance. Probably passion would be, let's go shopping. Bangkok is also known for its shopping. So you see how same place, but people in different modes are hankering after different things and they enjoy different things. So now we're there, Sharli Mataji. This was the one. So this is the question. So I want to ask, which of you are in the mode of goodness? Raise your hand. Mode of goodness?
कल्पना नहीं होगी
It's always a combination. Only one. Maybe
Then you are in the mode of goodness,
Then you're not.
then you are not.
you have some of this, some
And
of
then your ahem comes into play.
Passion में कौन रहता है?
Passion में सारे ही
And ignorance, mode of ignorance.
में भी सब है.
हाँ.
swing तो होता ही है.
लेकिन ये हमारे पास बहुत ही एडवांस स्टूडेंट्स है, तो ये तो उन्होंने गेम खराब कर दिया. Answer is it's always a combination. It's always a combination. Yeah. So there's no pure goodness, passion, ignorance in the material nature. So this answers your question, Sharli Mataji.
Intertwined.
That like it's always a mixture. So you will see some of the characteristics of modes of ignorance, but एक आध कुछ goodness का भी हो सकता है, because it's all a mixture. It's a mixture. But now that we know, we can analyze for ourselves how that mixture is changing over time. For the same person, sometimes maybe 80-90% goodness होगा, कभी 90% ignorance आ जाएगा. But knowing this, knowing the characteristics, we can analyze for ourselves as well as for others who we are dealing with, that what mode they are in. And I was saying this session helps us with respect to others, because when you see a person who was okay, you like, a friend, but suddenly turning an enemy, you can probably analyze it to say that maybe that person is just overtaken by mode of ignorance at this point of time,
तमोगुण
and
बढ़ रहा है उसका.
and treat it with that lens, rather than saying ये तो बहुत बेकारी है, this person is absolutely bad, I need to keep away, right? So a particular combination of modes actually makes up a personality. So for example, this color palette, how many combinations are possible?
Many.
Yes. Innumerable.
Yeah, innumerable, infinite. Modes के साथ भी वैसे ही है. There are infinite combinations which are possible. Infinite. So we can't even say how many. Infinite combinations of the three modes which are possible. Right? And that's why we also see infinite behaviors
Yes.
around us.
And personalities.
Yeah? And personalities.
So it can be both ways, you know. The modes can be changing in the other person, or they could be changing in you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your way of looking at the
Yeah.
person might also change.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But ऐसे में करे क्या? Suppose मेरी एक friend is going more into तमोगुण, and now I realize that she's not what I expected, and there's something happening. मैं क्या करूँ? मैं
बताइए.
उसको निकालने की कोशिश करूँ या मैं खुद पीछे चली जाऊँ, क्योंकि मेरी तो गुडनेस मैं बहुत महान हूँ, लेकिन वो
नहीं हो रही.
The first and foremost, I think, stop judging. That really is the most important part.
See, the thing is that you have to say that this is not the path for you. You cannot preach Gita to people who are not willing to listen to Gita. Gita is
नहीं, I
not
will not preach Gita. I don't want. मैंने किसी का ठेका नहीं है, तो अपना ही ले लूँ, वो बहुत है. तो मैं क्या करूँ?
मैं क्या करूँ? क्या कर सकता हूँ?
मैं दूर चली जाऊँ, मैं
अपना सतोगुण बढ़ाओ बस और क्या.
नहीं, but as a friend,
नहीं, as a friend, if you are always positive and in the
वो
mode
क्या
of
बोलते
goodness,
हैं?
वो already that will start rubbing on it. वो बोलते हैं ना कि वो केले को देख के रंग फल करता है,
खरबूजा को देगा, whatever ना.
So whatever it is, so वो basically she is in your company. Ultimately, goodness will also seep into her.
नहीं, but मैं तो सीधी सीधी कर ही नहीं सकती.
That is what you're judging, right?
नहीं, आज तो breakfast नहीं ना.
So I'll answer. So I think like, very nice answers. They've already answered, but just to like summarize, we'll see it in this shloka as well. The whole point is you can't label a person that somebody is good or bad. You can't label a person. One, at a spiritual level, we should all understand that they're spirit souls, just like me. Like I am struggling in my life, covered by and being a puppet in the modes of material nature. We are not in control, right? If I was in control, then I would always choose the mode I would want to be in. I would always want to be in mode of goodness. But is that true? No, I also come in the mode of passion and ignorance. Which means what? It's not, I am being controlled by Prakriti, by the modes of material nature. I'm a spirit soul, so is the other person. They are also being controlled. So instead of labeling somebody as good or bad, taking offense, just treat it in that spirit that nobody is good or bad. It's the modes which are defining.
उसकी badness या उसके
हाँ.
ignorance की वजह से, if I'm getting impacted,
Yeah. Need not take it so seriously. Need not take it so seriously. So that's what I'm trying to say. Don't take it so seriously. And of course, like at a material level, whatever you need to do, you are intelligent to know that what distance you need to keep yourself from people, etc. But the point is,
but isolate, but तुमको अपने को strong बनाना. You have to make your positivity more, that you don't get affected. And why should you get affected? Point is that why should you get affected?
So-
You know what is right, what is wrong. So उसका अपना point of view. And always I feel that if someone is behaving in a certain manner, you don't know from where it is coming, right? The circumstances, you don't know the situation where it is coming. When you know that inherent that person has always been good, suddenly she has changed into this. How do you know what is happening about it?
yeah.
You cannot judge people, but just you cannot judge a book by its cover.
no, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that how do I save myself? I'm getting hurt,
You
right?
have
Don't
to
have to be hurt.
You have to,
Why?
the way to save yourself.
Passion and passion.
Yeah.
I'm goodness में नहीं गई. तो hurt तो होंगी.
So, Mataji, the way to deal with it, and again, it's a journey, it can't happen on one day. The whole process of Bhagavad Gita is that once you realize, हमको पता सबको है, we are spirit souls. We don't realize it day to day every moment. If you are the spirit soul, this body is temporary. This name is temporary, this life is temporary, this relationship is temporary. Only permanent thing is my relationship with God. So, what would an intelligent person do if you have any time? Focus on the permanent.
Permanent relationship.
You should isolate
Focus on
yourself
your
from
permanent
that.
relationship. Focus on your permanent relationship. Don't bother about. So that is what not taking it seriously means. That this is a temporary thing. There's one a temporary body, temporary relationship. उसमें भी mode जो है वो तो और भी temporary है.
Yes.
Within the relationship also, it's even more flickering.
Tomorrow it may be totally different.
And tomorrow that person may come back and do something so nice for you that you would be so grateful. So
Actually, all this learning, I feel, is all about ourselves and improving
Yeah,
ourselves.
it is self, basically
So-
self-related.
so that we understand also about ourselves and we act accordingly.
yeah, yeah. So we'll yes.
So these modes of different modes, are they also related to karma credits, past karma credits, or they are just on the material platform?
Yeah, so actually, so karma credits are on the material platform only. Karma is on the material platform. Only spiritual credits are on the spiritual platform. So, yes, I mean, when it comes to personality, the personality that you acquire will also be determined by your past lives. And then for every personality, there is effect of the time, place, circumstance.
From where it is coming?
That is dependent on your choices. Like, let's say, I'll give you an example. You're all spiritualists, like, but you could choose to go to a temple, or you could also choose to go to a bar, right? What activity and what mode you will be in will be defined by that. You are in this satsang, if, like, even if any of you are very fond of drinking, if I were to like just take out a glass and say chalo, let's have a drink, would you be like, kya bol rahi hai Mata ji? Like, this is not the place to have it, right? But at the same time, if you're in a bar now, you've gone out Saturday evening, I don't know if there was a party last night or not. There was. So
There's every day there's a party.
हाँ हाँ सैटरडे नाइट्स दिवाली पार्टी है ना, दिवाली पार्टी. अभी वो दिवाली पार्टी में मैं अगर बीट बैग लेके आती, आप तो सब इधर उधर मुंह फेर के चले जाते हैं. अरे दिस इज नॉट द टाइम. अब क्लास में बोलिए ये डोंट गेट द बीट बैग, वी आर. So it's up to you. It's a choice that you're making. Yeah. So it's both. Past karma also, your choices, your desires. So only thing which we can control is, or we have influence on, is the desire. That is only our minute independence. So our desires have to be more in line with our true identity and what we want to achieve in this life. So let's recite this. Rajas, Tamas.
We have to go to the presentation.
Okay.
I think now your disconnect is
Okay.
fixed.
So this one, right? Rajas, Tamas, Chabhi, Bhuya. Sattvam bhavati bharata. Rajasattvam tamaschaiva. Tamasattvam rajastatha.
Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. Bhagavad Gita 14.1.
So we just discussed this, right? We were just discussing this. So just see, like somebody would say, especially people in mode of ignorance, like what is this Bhagavad Gita? 5,000 साल पहले की बात है. Now we are in modern times. But you see how every shloka, it's so practical. Every shloka is relevant today. There is so much in one shloka. There is so much of treasure. Can you imagine how many gems you'll find in 700 shlokas? That's how practical Bhagavad Gita is. So how do we get into these modes? Let's understand that. पुरुषा प्रकृतिस्थ पुरुषा प्रकृतिस्थो हि
पुरुषा प्रकृतिस्थो हि
भुङ्क्ते प्रकृतिजान् गुणान्
भुङ्क्ते प्रकृतिजान् गुणान्
कारणं गुणसङ्गोऽस्य
कारणं गुणसङ्गोऽस्य
सदसद्योनिजन्मसु
सदसद्योनिजन्मसु.
The living entity in material nature thus follows the way of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. Bhagavad Gita 13.2.
Yeah. So this is too due to his association with that material nature. So what is the material nature? Everything. So food. I'll come to the topic of food. Food affects us. Our association, the people we associate with, has a big effect. The place we are in. I was just giving that example of temple at bar, right? Even what we wear, that also makes a difference. Once Prabhuji was saying, so in their, they have a boys' hostel where the boys are they practice. They're all working, but they also come together morning and evening and practice, do spiritual practices. Working from home, COVID time tha, so like he went to the hostel, and then he saw one Prabhuji was in jeans and t-shirt. So he was like, "What happened, Prabhuji? Are you going to office?" "Nahi, Prabhuji. So like, you're not in, and their dress code there is dhoti kurta." So he was like, "तो आप धोती कुर्ता में नहीं है, आप जीन्स टी शर्ट में क्यों बैठे हुए हैं, घर से ही काम करें?" "प्रभु जी, धोती कुर्ता में वो पैशन नहीं आएगा काम करने का." So our clothes also affect how we feel. I mean, you would have noticed it, like, when you're wearing, say, Western clothes versus when you're dressing up as per Vedic traditions, which is dhoti, kurta, sari, the way you feel is different. The food that we eat makes a huge difference. So in food also, Bhagavad Gita, talks about foods in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? So foods which are very wholesome, juicy, they are supposed to be in the mode of nutritious, mode of goodness. Mode of passion is foods which are very spicy, very spicy, sour, like extreme, pungent, right? Mode of ignorance are those which are putrid, decomposing, remnants, stale, right? So these are in the modes of ignorance. Now, even when it comes to food, one is the type of food. Second is also the consciousness of the food. So you'd be surprised, but the food that is made, the consciousness of the cook actually gets transferred to the food. So have you seen, like, let's take Iskon Prasad. It is so simple, na? Khichdi to hai,
Tastes so good, yeah.
but it tastes so good because it is prepared with simple ingredients which are in line with foods in mode of goodness. But more importantly, वो जब हम घर पे बनाते हैं वही खिचड़ी वो taste नहीं आता है ना.
अच्छा भाव से बनाया
Because people who are cooking that food are chanting 16 rounds of the Mahamantra every day. If you go into an ISKCON kitchen, you'll feel like it's a temple because there is like there's kirtan going on, and there's so much chanting happening. So the consciousness of the person is very spiritual and elevated, and that consciousness is getting transferred into the food. So it's spiritualized food. Similarly, like if you see in, like if you're going to a restaurant, like of course it may be food in the mode of ignorance and passion, but also the cook, we don't know, right? Maybe in what consciousness, maybe very lusty, maybe very angry, greedy, with a cheating propensity, and is passing that consciousness into the food. So just imagine our situation. So we are all spirit souls. We are stuck in the material world because we have this ton of contamination which is surrounding the spirit soul. Abhi, through this food that we partake, we are just adding more contamination to that layer. So we have to be very careful also about the food that we partake because it has a huge impact on our spiritual journey. I mean, of course, for people who are not so serious and just doing this, हाँ चलो एक दिन चल के सुनते हैं lecture आ जाते हैं, एक दिन सत्संग कर लिया, doesn't matter. But for people who are serious about this journey, if you really want to elevate your consciousness and move closer to the Lord, elevate and go higher up in your spiritual journey, you should be absolutely very careful about the foods that you take. Of course, within the realm of practicality, we can't all be like, we're not staying in an ashram, we're not brahmacharis, we're grihasthas. So it's not like, oh, we can't, if somebody is not chanting. So Prabhuji follows that. Somebody is not chanting 16 rounds, he will not eat that food. Maybe, you can't have that standard to start with, because, we are all in grihastha life, but at least have foods which are in the mode of goodness. Whoever is preparing the food, make sure like the consciousness is good. If you can't prepare it, you can play the Maha Mantra in the kitchen, so that your cook can at least hear that while cooking. And most importantly, spiritualize that food by offering it to the Lord. We talked about this, right? Everything belongs to the Lord. So if we use it without offering to Him, then we are effectively thieves.
But I just want to, maybe a stupid question, but
Yeah, no.
is it this rigidity of that I will not touch food from anybody's hand who doesn't recite 16 malas every day? Do you think this is justified? I mean, is it something that
So it depends on the person, Prabhuji. As I said, for somebody who's in a renounced order of life, right? Their goal, everybody's goal is the same, but their path is supposed to be more rigid, more austere,
And
right?
there are many monks and all who just used to beg and eat,
Yeah.
from houses and all.
who's giving that food?
And
Yeah.
they were not discriminating कि ये अछूत भी है या नहा के भी है, नहाया है नहीं नहाया है.
Yeah.
And they are also great personalities.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. So if you look at sannyasis, the standard is you shouldn't cook your own food. You should live by begging and get whatever. है ना? So जैसे माता जी वो जब जिस जमाने में होता था ना, that was also during the Vedic times. So if you think about the Vedic times,
Many of these who are current Maharishis.
Even the monks to today, I mean, you go to countries like Burma and those places, the monks early morning they go and people just line up to give
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
Food. But
Yeah.
the only difference was that they never used to discriminate between the taste. तो एक ही झोली में सब ले लेते थे, whether it is मीठा,
So I've been to.
मिला के खा लेते
Yeah,
थे.
I'll talk about that ritual. So one earlier, like now it's very different, but if you look at slightly older times, it didn't matter if, according to the varnashrama, if somebody was a brahman or a shudra, everybody was trying to practice spirituality, however at a different pace and in a different way, which is true even today. Grihasthas practice it differently from the way monks practice it, right? But coming to even in some Southeast Asian countries, there is this, like, where Buddhism is quite predominant. I was in Luang Prabang, and there this is a custom that 5 a.m. all the householders, they come out and they sit on the streets, and the monks go by and they give these, like,
beautiful scene.
it is a very beautiful ceremony, and I've also participated in it. And of course there's a touristy part of it कि कोई ऐसे ही बस बेच रहा होगा कि लेके दे दो, and people are participating. I was actually staying in a place which was in Airbnb, and which was there were many genuine householders staying close by, and I saw their practice of how they actually woke up in the morning and they were bathing. And I mean, of course, I didn't understand the prayers that they chant because it's not in our language, but they all seemed in a very, very prayerful mood before they were going to do this. Give alms to brahmanas or Buddhist monks, like who they were going to give this to.
No, so I'm not talking about Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I'm generally saying, see, when you are offering the food, it's not necessarily everyone is chanting and all.
Yeah.
But then manse de rahe hain. So isn't that pure enough?
So, Manse, so actually, Pataji, as we talked, when you cook food, the consciousness is transferred. Yeah.
They somehow, because I've read about so many Maharishis and I've read about so many personalities,
Yeah.
I've also read about them.
Yeah.
So even they take cooked food.
So actually,
from
if you
everywhere,
see,
but
yeah.
they do say that you should not have attachment to the tongue. That is the only thing. And
So-
everyone takes.
I'll also come to that. So if I have also personally seen that maybe even within the order of renunciation, people who are like absolutely on a very higher plane versus somebody who is maybe just initially starting, you would see the latter, being a lot more careful about these rules. The reason for that is, see, what is our consciousness? Think of it as water. Right now, if there is muddy water and you want this to be clear, if you put more mud, what will happen? Versus there is a clear jug out there, like absolutely pure water. One drop of mud can easily be taken
But
out.
if the consciousness is so high, won't the muddy water become clear when it enters the consciousness?
Muddy water will become clear. No, it's a very slow process.
No,
The
when
muddy
you're
water.
saying that
Unless you're
latter,
talking about Simani,
Acha, you are talking about the latter means the one who's just initiating is basically
Yeah,
very
so-
strict about it.
So at the start, At the s-
Understood. You're right.
at the start.
Understood. I'm mistaken.
That tapas era is when you're really in the middle.
so when you reach that level,
Then it
Then
doesn't
we're
matter.
beyond all this here.
yeah. So therefore, with a lot of Mahatmas who are like great saints, we can't say, अरे लेकिन उन्होंने तो कर लिया. वो तो मतलब you would sometimes
They
say,
have
oh,
transcended that.
they have not come for Mangal Aarti. So like, why is it needed? They don't need it probably. And while they didn't come for Mangal Aarti, you never know what they were doing. Maybe they were like chanting in their rooms or whatever.
And they might
But,
be
you know-
setting the world
yeah.
in place.
Yeah, they must be meditating on how do I give Krishna prema to all the people around in the world. So we can't say, वो तो स्वामी जी भी नहीं आए, मंगल आरती में मैं सो जाता हूँ.
I got confused
So,
between latter and
Yeah. So also whenever, I think I've pointed it out to in a previous class also, Mataji, that whenever we hear these things, we can't take examples extremes. कि अरे वो ऋषि ने तो नहीं किया था, या concentration camp में तो किसी ने ये खा लिया. It's about us. Can we do something differently? Right? And as I said, it depends.
Phase of your spiritual journey that you're going through.
It's a phase, and it's also practicality. Right? Each of us, we are all grihasthas, and each of us has a different situation at home when it comes to food getting cooked. Somebody's in a non-vegetarian family. Somebody is already in a family where people are chanting 16 rounds and cooking. But dono jagah pe there is the desire, no? I want to progress. So we can see what is practical at our stage. You don't need to disrupt anything. What is practical at my stage? And implement that. Because now we've understood that foods also affect the different modes. So which is the good mode? Which mode should we be in? It's also something surely Mataji should have seen, but we can uh, give this message to her later. Yeah. This is a question. Which mode should we be in?
Obviously, the sattvagun, more sattvagun is always more
Goodness.
desirable.
Everybody says goodness.
Goodness and passion both, because we are in a material world, right? So that is actually everything will be there. The ratio has to be such that predominantly it should be goodness, then passion we see it should be less, and ignorance. Everyone has ignorance. If we say we don't have ignorance, that is the biggest ignorance. So the biggest ignorance. I can hold ignorance.
Let's see what Bhagavad Gita says. Satvam sukhe sanjayati raja karmani bharata jnanam avritya tu tamaha pramade sanjayatyuta.
O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruiting action, and ignorance covering one's knowledge binds one to madness. Bhagavad Gita 14.9.
So let me explain this by a story. So once there was a king and his minister and soldiers. They were going through a forest, and some, tribals. They found them, and some dacoits in the forest. They caught them. So the king, they said, this is the king. So we'll put him in golden shackles. Minister, silver shackles, and soldiers, bronze shackles. So can we say which one is the best?
All are in shackles. How does it
So what should be our aim? What is good? To get out of those shackles,
Yeah.
right? So it's answered. Which mode is good then? So everything has a problem. Mode of goodness is also very dangerous.
Ultimately,
It
you
is
have
very
to
dangerous.
yeah, you have to go beyond all to
So mode of goodness is good to get off on a spiritual path, because if you're in mode of ignorance, तो बिल्कुल नहीं आ सकते spirituality पे. Mode of passion still okay. Mode of goodness is actually the platform through which we can raise ourselves on a spiritual journey. So to that extent, it is good, but it also leads to pride. Oh, I am a person in the mode of goodness.
बंधन है.
That is also a bondage. That's also bondage, and very these bondages are more treacherous.
More, much more, much more.
Yeah. So yeah. So I have to think that I don't need to be in any mode. I mean, of course, we need to practice to be in mode of goodness to the extent possible, but we should know that our aim is that we have to transcend these
Transcend
modes.
all.
Yeah. So yeah,
As I
we
say,
can't say otherwise. The mode of goodness is like, once you're in mode of goodness, you're more shant, happy. Somebody like, you come in the mode of goodness. I'd be talking to Seema Mataji after a like couple of decades. If you're both around, she प्रॉब्लम क्या है वो तो आंसर पहले दिया था. It's fine, ये जेल is okay. बहुत खुश है यार इस जेल में. So that's
as I say, the spiritual ego is more poisonous than the normal
Yeah.
human being ego.
Yeah.
Because that ego can completely destroy you.
So-
The definition of mode of goodness, didn't it say that you should not have false ego?
yeah, you shouldn't have false ego to the extent that you're not the doer. You shouldn't think that. So somebody who's in the mode of goodness is thinking I'm not the doer, and because of that is happy, The mid is equipoised, right? Kuch bhi ho raha hai around them, they're not getting too affected by it. So let's say there's a person who's been predominantly in mode of goodness, will suddenly stop feeling that, will start feeling that material world is not a bad place. I'm happy only, right? जो भी दुख सुख आ रहा है, आई एम नॉट गेटिंग अफेक्टेड बाय एनीथिंग, आई एम ऑलवेज काम, स्टेबल, सब चल रहा है. So that is the problem with the mode of
You
goodness.
might lose the desire to go to the God.
Or we are just too happy being in golden shackles.
Comfort zone.
Shackles golden hai.
That's my confusion. The mode of goodness itself, the definition says that I'm equipoised. It doesn't matter whatever is coming to me, I'm happy. The only thing I feel like missing is that I would lose the desire to go back to God.
You could lose the desire. You could lose the desire, or you may not be doing enough.
But would that be the mode of goodness? Would mean that whatever God is giving me, I'm okay with it. Whether He wants to take me back, it's okay. Whether He wants to give me a next life, it's
That
okay.
is mode of transcendence, which is Shuddha Sattva. So there is a mode which is beyond these three, which is called Shuddha Sattva. Yeah. So where you say that it's not just a mode of goodness, but it is beyond that, because you're fine with whatever the Lord has desired for you. I just have one desire, which is Mam Janmani Ishware Bhavatat Bhaktir Ahetuki Tvai, which means I have just one desire, which is lifetime after lifetime. I want to do uninterrupted, unmotivated devotional service to the Supreme, because I'm a part and parcel of the Supreme. So that has to be the attitude.
Even if you're in mode of goodness, and you realize that you're in mode of goodness for a long time, then that sense of ego also comes in. Again, the mode of goodness mein, that attachment. Ego
So then you
all
go out
starts
of the mode
decaying.
of goodness
Then
into.
it is like
Mataji is right. So this is also mentioned in the scriptures, that it's a slippery slope. So while you don't have false ego, that's why you're in the mode of goodness. But this pride comes, and then you fall into passion and ignorance.
And even attachment comes. Okay, I love this situation.
Yeah.
This is what, even when you're doing our meditation, you get attached to the experiences. That is wrong. That is, you're going in a mode of passion because attachment is coming.
Yeah.
The other day I was
That
reading the
is-
definition of gunas, which actually saying it's actually the bandhan.
Bandhan.
They are not gunas, they are bandhan. So even sattva guna is a bandhan.
Bandhan.
You have to go beyond bandhan.
Yeah, they're all shackles.
One has to stop thinking where we are right now.
So how to get free from these
Sorry,
modes?
A lot of scriptures actually mention about the spiritual ego, which comes when you are progressing on the path of spiritual.
Very, very
So one needs
dangerous.
to be mindful of
Yeah,
that. Also.
yeah.
Extremely-
Although I would say, like some of you are definitely like quite advanced spiritual practitioners, but for most of us here, I don't think we should bother about that. Right now, we should bother about, can I increase my spiritual practices? Can I be sincere, single minded focus? If I want to do practice spirituality, can I get up in the morning and practice mantra meditation? Can I read at least one shloka of the Bhagavad Gita? We are seeing how many gems there are. And this is all very practical. This is applicable in your day to day life. So it's not just a theoretical study. Every day you study a shloka, it will help you that very day in your life. So, how do we get free from these modes? Mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityatan brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Bhagavad Gita 14.26.
Yeah. So this answers like some of the questions we were just discussing. So we should at this point worry about how do we advance in our spiritual lives, which is by getting up early in the morning, chanting. Prabhuji has been very kind. He and his family, they've opened up their homes to like a congregational chanting. uh, you should definitely take benefit of it because it's very different. The energy, the vibrations are very different when you sit together and chant versus alone at home. There's more motivation to go. This is a very good month. Please utilize this opportunity to sit and chant together. Chant at least 4 rounds if you can in the Kartik month. This will really really help us. Yeah. And attending classes like this, satsang is very important. It's happening right in the community, so let's try and do that. Okay, how to get along with different personalities. Yeah.
This is what Shirley was asking.
There will be a person in everyone's life who will test all our parameters to its extreme. Most of the times that person is in the house only. Or even spouses, they are they are willing to tell us. Spouses tell us like our, yeah.
Not always.
So yeah, the like especially spouses also, right? They do all the tests, stress test, durability test, functionality test, सब हो जाता है उधर ही, right? So we all have such people, you know. Um, yeah, what kind of people we meet. We're comfortable with somebody, we stay at a distance, ruthless. So, just want to briefly talk about this. So, Vedic scriptures are amazing. We often see how, like, in the modern times, couples are finding it very difficult to get along. Like, love at first sight, divorce at first fight has become very common. Right? That's a lot of, in the olden times, in the Vedic times, actually, there would be like, kundlis, which would be seen. Because in the kundlis, actually, the modes are given. Like, there is like, Asura Gun, Deva Gun, and all, and basis matching of that, marriages were decided. So just imagine somebody who's in the mode of passion. This lady gets married to somebody, this man is in the mode of ignorance. What will happen every weekend morning? I will be like, oh, let's plan the weekend. Let's do this. Let's go to this art exhibition, and then let's go for this, brunch, and then we'll follow it by a movie, and then we have a party. And the husband is saying, I just want to sleep. Sounds familiar, right? So ये तो हो गया कि ठीक है.
नहीं, but वो कुंडली आप मिलाओ या नहीं मिलाओ,
Hmm.
I feel that that past life karma, the give and take है, it is already decided whom you are going to marry and whom you are not going to marry.
Yeah. Actually, more importantly, the point is,
The only thing is with कुंडली matching and all, you will know कि अच्छा चलो ठीक है इतने मिल रहे हैं तो ऊपर नीचे होना है. That is all. But if you have to marry that person, you will marry only that person. You might take, because I have.
हाँ, वो तो is decided by your past karma. Yeah. Correct.
नहीं, वो है, वो मैंने मेरी फ्रेंड के साथ देखा है. एक साल बाद उसी बंदे से शादी हुई है जिसको मना किया था.
So actually, this was just with marriages. The fact is, like with our spouses, we only deal for a certain time of the day. Most of the time, we are dealing with non-spouses. उसमें तो कुंडली मैच कर ही नहीं सकते ना, मतलब you have to deal with everyone and everyone out there in office,
Your boss.
in the household. You've gotten like parents, kids, everybody, neighbors. So there are so many people, and there may be a clash in the modes. Their modes are not the same as ours. So what do we do, right? As Mataji was asking this question, so we just have to learn to tolerate. Tolerance is the question. You have to be tolerant.
Yeah, you should not isolate or get away from it because the person has come into your life for a reason. See, we have come into life for some reason to learn a lesson.
Yeah.
See, if we don't learn that lesson, we have to keep on coming back to learn that particular lesson. So we should not avoid people, circumstances, this, that, and all. प्रभु का नाम लो और चलते चलो.
So focus on the permanent relationship, and just tolerate the situations and people as we go through this. Yeah. Nahi kaschit kshanam api jatu tishthatya karmakrit karyate hi avasha karma sarva prakriti jairgune.
Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Bhagavad Gita 3.5.
Same point.
Yeah, so we've discussed this many times. So Bhagavad Gita is giving us all of this. See how practical the Bhagavad Gita is. So, like a strong stream of water, sometimes we just need to flow along. We don't have a choice. So then some practical tips. How to get along with people. Modes will work for sure, but the effect can be minimized if we are more aware of it and we know what is happening with both our modes and the others. Doesn't mean that the modes will stop working. It'll work on us, it'll work on others as well. So therefore, hate the sin and not the sinner. Somebody is a friend, kabhi they'll be enemy, it's okay. They are also a spirit soul. Please realize they are also a spirit soul like us, struggling in this material world. Forming perception on people is destructive. People change. Yeah, second thing, fourth thing, when you get affected by someone, don't ponder it too much. Just take it in your spirit. Move on. Focus on the permanent goal, and
This is not exactly what she wanted. Sorry.
yeah, you can take a photo and send to her. And have, most importantly, the last one, have higher goal in life. It will help us to get rid of all these small things in life. Chick chick, pick chick, everything will stop mattering. We can't stop the chick chick. It is a function of our past karma.
No, you can't.
You can't take it away. You can't take it away. So therefore, only a spiritualist can do this. Know what is your spiritual identity, have the spiritual maturity, not get affected by these circumstances, and with Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, which is one pointed, resolute intelligence, keep marching on the path of spirituality. And it's very easy. Small practices. Kya karna hai? Mantra meditation, Bhagavad Gita shloka, and coming to association. Nothing is too difficult. It's all a very easy path. So in Kali Yuga, this path is very easy. In Satya Yuga, people had to meditate for thousands of years to, get self-realization. None of it is for us. We are just talking of like half an hour of mantra meditation. It's not that much. Trust me, it's not. So yeah, we've talked about these three tips. Please do this. And yeah, I know we've talked through many questions, but any other questions, happy to take it for a couple of minutes and then we'll chant. Okay.
If someone comes into your life and engaged you spiritually and hurted you a lot, then how can you come from that? Is it
Sorry?
past karma?
I didn't get the question.
If someone comes into your life
Hmm.
and encash you spiritually,
Hmm. Helps you spiritually?
नो नो एनकैश यू कि आपके साथ संबंध बना के
हाँ.
उसने आपसे स्पिरिचुअल काफी चीजें आपसे सीखी
अच्छा.
है।
नहीं सीखी नहीं, स्पिरिचुअलिटी के बेस पे कोई अगर आपकी जिंदगी में आता है,
Okay.
अच्छा,
So it's a
it's a
spiritual.
spiritual friend.
So it's a spiritual
friend
connection.
cheats you a lot,
Cheats.
and
Yeah.
hurts you a lot.
Yeah.
It can't be
Then
spiritual.
is it the past karma account, karmic account of past?
Yeah, it could be, but I think most importantly, even as we make this journey of spirituality, we need to understand that our ultimate connection through is with Krishna through a bona fide guru. Now, of course, there are very elevated souls, but sometimes it is also seen that gurus can also get deviated. And the scriptures say at that point of time, we can give up such a guru. So, Guru Tyag is approved by scriptures if the guru has taken to abominable actions, right? But if you're not talking about a guru, it's just a fellow spiritualist, somebody who you were just doing satsang with, maybe discussing Bhagavad Gita shlokas. I think today's discussion then helps Mataji, because none of the practicing. So
Was
what
all
are
on
we?
me, was
Yeah,
all on me.
no, and who are we? We are all. We need to understand. We are practicing sadhakas. Devotee तो बहुत बड़ा term है. We are all practicing sadhakas. We are practicing spiritualists. Right? So, as practicing, we are all under the modes of material nature. Of course, somebody who has more spiritual intelligence, to the extent that they can, will not try to hurt somebody deliberately, etc. All of that, right? But yet, modes of material nature will act on that person also. So, we just need to, that those points that were given, yeah, move on, and forgive the person, especially if there was a spiritual connection. Pray for the person, and hopefully, the person should be fine. Krishna helps somebody who is praying to Krishna. They may deviate sometimes and do something wrong under the modes of material nature, but if they are sincere sadhakas, Krishna will help through prayers of other devotees, through their own practices. Hope I've answered your question. Okay. Yeah.
Daughters,
Okay.
everyone is here.
Okay. Thank you for
That's why I
coming.
got paid and everything.
Yeah. No. Please go ahead. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll end the session here. This live stream. Yeah, just once.